Hi everyone, welcome to my next video. I'm recording this on Thanksgiving, however you won't see it till the day after. But I was thinking today, even though I don't celebrate the holidays, I was thinking today about all the things that I am thankful for. And I was especially thinking about this channel because I can't express how thankful I am for all of you. I really mean that. And it's more than just having a YouTube channel. It's more than an income that it's generating. And it actually has nothing to do with the income. However, it is very helpful to me, and it's helping me save money for my animal sanctuary that I hope to find and have in my future. And honestly, from 47 subscribers in January to 25,000, which I believe I'll have by the time this video posts, I had no idea this channel would take off the way it has. And what I want to talk about is how I felt when I first started this channel for any new subscribers who haven't watched previous videos, because I didn't think I had anything interesting to say. Reason being, for most of my life, no one ever did think I had anything interesting to say. And I can look back now and I understand why. The reason being, I made bad choices and I was with people who were not healthy for me. And I got caught up in that for a very long time. And when I was 40, as I wrote about in my memoir, I See the Elephant, I suddenly had a realization, an epiphany. And I realized that I deserved to be my true self, my authentic self, whatever you want to call it, which is what I really feel, my emotions, my thoughts, my dreams, my aspirations. It's not up to anybody else to dictate any of that. And it took me a long time to understand that. And I also realized that when you do become true to yourself, a lot of people are going to scatter. And they're going to scatter because they're going to have their own different reasons. A lot of it is insecurity. Maybe because they don't know how to be true to themselves. And maybe they're a little intimidated. And by being authentic, I don't mean putting yourself out there 100%, sharing your most innermost thoughts. What I mean is, even in a simple conversation, say what you mean. And I don't mean regardless of it's hurtful or not, but be true to your feelings and your beliefs and your opinions. And you can say them in a polite, compassionate way. And when I first started doing that, it felt so strange because I'd always said what was expected. But every time I did that, I felt really bad inside. I felt tormented. Like, why did I do that? Why am I living this way? Well, writing my first book really opened my eyes too, in terms of what I'd experienced and why I even felt that way. But starting this YouTube channel was a huge turning point for me because I'd started it a few years ago, as I'd mentioned, and then I kind of got away from it, a little bit discouraged. In January of 2025, I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it again. And I have no idea if anyone's going to be interested in my videos, but I was going to stay true to myself and not try to be like anybody else, not to choose topics that were obviously very popular on YouTube. And I was certainly not going to go for the topics that were the big money makers. Because what I wanted was to be myself and see if my true self had value. And that was my only intention. And I knew that I had a very strong ability to withstand trauma. And I knew that I had very strong beliefs, but I wasn't sure if they would be helpful to anyone else. But I was going to do it anyway and see what happened. Well, here we are, November 27, 26. And by the time this video is published, I'll probably be up to 25,000 subscribers. And I cannot express how humbled, stunned, and thrilled I am that what I have to say has meaning. Now, please use me as an example and as an encouragement, because if you're unsure of really voicing your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own emotions, look what happened to this channel. And you may not want to have a YouTube channel, but look what happens when you take the chance to really be yourself without having any idea how others will perceive you. And sure, I get negative comments. I probably will for the duration of my channel, which hopefully will be for many years. But see, I don't take them personally at all, because negative comments come from negative people. And if you can see negative comments in that way, even in your day-to-day life, you can just brush it off. And you can find compassion with people who are negative. And you might even take it a step further and try to offer a positive thought for them, because maybe they're stuck in their own narrow way of thinking. Because I was there. I was doubtful. I was insecure. And there were many times in my life when I was angry. And I'd be more than happy to talk about that. And I'm also very willing to talk about all my failures, because there were many. And I think I've talked about many of them in my book too. And I'm also going to talk about many of my failures as a parent. Although I did the best I could at the time, I'm sure my adult daughter sees those moments as failures. And that's okay too, because we all have our own perceptions, our own memories, and our own understanding with our own frame of reference. So I'm going to write that book as an estranged parent of an adult child, with compassion, with insight. But why am I writing it, you ask? I gave this a lot of thought, and I realized that if I could create a YouTube channel and be supportive to others, then I can be supportive to other estranged parents out there. No, stop it. And my dogs are barking because something strange is going on outside. And I'm just going to keep talking, because I have a lot of positive suggestions and ideas for any of you who are struggling with the shock, the humiliation, and the utter confusion of having an estranged child no longer even speaking to us. But my situation goes even deeper than that, because I was treated very badly. And I suppose a lot of people will make fun of me and say, oh, gee, you're a victim. No, I'm not a victim. But one reason I'm writing my book is that we can choose to be a victim or choose to be all the wiser. And that's what I've done as an estranged mom. And I ended my efforts to try to reconcile with my daughter because I was being a continuous victim, allowing myself to be treated badly. And I realized that when you put a stop to the abuse and reclaim your life, you are actually telling yourself that you are no longer a victim. and it's a mindset. And so my reason for writing this book is to be thankful that I'm no longer a victim with anything. And it's not a matter of finding fault with others, but a matter of celebrating your own strengths and celebrating your own awareness and celebrating that you did the best you could with whatever you did in your life. And you don't have to be a victim. And that's one of the reasons why I'm writing my book. And it's going to be quite in depth. It's going to be very revealing. And it's going to talk about things that I regret. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, because if I'm going to tell my story, I have to tell the entire story. Just like I create my videos. And I love that, because that's who I am. And that's what being authentic is all about. So my channel is growing because of all of you. And it's growing because I'm putting myself out there. And apparently, by being myself, I'm able to be of value. And that is a better trade-off than ever making any amount of money. So what am I doing with all my money I'm making from YouTube? Right now, it's all going in a savings account. And my dream, as I've said before, is to utilize it for animal welfare. And I'm not sure how that's going to come to fruition. It may be just land to put in a trust for conservation. But my ultimate goal is to find land with an old red barn, put it in a trust, let someone else run a rescue, because I won't be physically able to care for many animals. But I want to create a permanent place for the safety and the welfare of wildlife and whatever animals come my way, and leave it behind when I am no longer. And that is my life goal. And you know what's really cool? For years, I wanted to write a book about my life, but I wasn't sure if it mattered or would matter to anybody. And I didn't want to write it as a victim, because I never felt like one. I didn't want to write it blaming anyone, finding fault with anyone, or judging anyone. And when I sat down to write that book, it just kind of wrote itself, and I can't explain it any other way. It just happened. My book just happened. And I know that my animal sanctuary will happen the same way. And it will happen when it's time. Because my book happened when it was time. I had to live it before I could write it. And that's how I feel about my conservation land, animal sanctuary. Now, this YouTube channel is making that happen, because all the funds and all the revenue that I receive is going into a savings account for that very venture. And all I'm doing is being myself, just like I was when I wrote my book. And that's why it's so easy to make videos, because all I'm doing is trying to give as much as myself as possible for the benefit of everyone else. And if I do need to sell this property to buy my rescue, then that's going to be even a bigger win, because it's all going to be for the proceeds of that trust fund to keep my sanctuary and animal sanctuary alive and exist after me. And those two things were my life's goals anyway. And it would thrill me to no end if I could achieve both. So I've already done one. And now with my channel, it looks like the second one's going to come to fruition also. And what's really cool is my YouTube channel can evolve and expand to include the animals and what land I find and what I'm doing and how it's working. And you can all contribute your ideas and your thoughts and your suggestions. And I know that the future has already happened because I believe the past, present, and future are all together. And I can talk about that more too. And I believe that the future has already happened, and I am just moving through the present in order to reach the future. And I so believe that. And I've always believed that my entire life. And I'm not scientifically gifted. I don't understand quantum mechanics. But from the little that I've listened to, these geniuses have already touched on that as reality. And I think that I have a sense of all that. And so this channel is taking me to places I never ever imagined. And I want it to be for all of you too. I want this to be an incredibly wonderful place where you can always be assured that you're never going to be subjected to anything doom and gloom, any negativity, any negative ways of looking at your life. It's all going to be very empowering and hopefully insightful for you to use however you want. And that is so incredibly meaningful to me. So thanks to everyone. And this is my Thanksgiving message the day after or 2 days after, whenever I get to publish it. Sometimes I have to drive to town to get a strong enough signal to upload videos, because out here in the woods, I don't always get a strong enough signal. So hopefully I can upload this within a day or two. Thank you so much, everyone. I so appreciate you all. And feel free to comment, ask me questions, anything else you'd like me to talk about. And I can talk more about my experience with time. And if you've read my book, There Is a Something, I talk about how I've had visions that come true, dreams that have come true, and very, very strong premonitions that have come true. And I've been asked if I could provide some thoughts for other people. But here's why I shy away from these supposed psychics. Because when you are in tune to the future, sometimes the future is not always positive. And I will never share that. I will never tell someone that something bad is going to happen. And I think some of these psychics only share the good. And that's a false reading. Because deep down, we all just want to hear the good. We don't want to hear bad. And it's scary if someone has the intuition and the knowledge that something bad is going to happen. And I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's right, and I would never do that. And no, I don't have a foreboding sense of anything, with one exception. I have a foreboding sense for the way this world is going. And I've talked about that before. And my suggestion, as I've said before, is that the more independent and self-reliant you can be, the better off you're going to be. Because I do have a foreboding sense about the government, the economy, and the cost of living. And if you can find yourself a little piece of land to call your own, no matter how small, even if it's just a half an acre, I so encourage you all to try to do that. Maybe you can pool funds with friends or family members, and try to not be dependent on the system, because when the system falters, which it already is, having your own land is going to save you. And that's one reason I live out here in the woods. And that's another reason why I'm looking to buy even more acreage. So thank you again, everyone. I am celebrating my 25,000 subscribers, even though so far it's 24,800. It'll be 25 pretty soon. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.